Hi guys, a big welcome to this Envato Tux Plus course, Creating Professional Logos in an Instant. My name is Grace Fussell, I'm a graphic designer and I'm obsessed with branding design. One thing that I've encountered a lot in my work is that clients often want logo concepts very quickly. So they might ask you to pitch some ideas within a week or even a couple of days if they want something really soon. Your instinctive reaction to this might be to panic and go into creative meltdown, which used to happen to me quite a fair bit. But honestly, there are techniques that you can use to design incredible, professional standard logos in very little time. Pro designers working within agencies often use these time-saving techniques to create multiple concepts. So we're going to take our cues from the pros and see how you can use this approach in your own work. In this course, I'm going to show you how to create a versatile logo kit, a set of elements that you can combine in different ways to create a wide variety of logo designs. I'll show you how to choose a style for your kit and how to sketch and vectorize designs for icons and frames, creating the key building blocks of your kit. We'll finish up by looking at how you can save time by choosing typefaces that work seamlessly with your chosen style, and also how to format your logo typography to make it look as professional as possible. In the next lesson, we'll make a start by taking a look at how to pick a design style for your logo kit. So I'll see you there in just a moment. Hi there, so I want to start by talking to you about where to begin with your logo design process. So let's say that you get a brief from the client and they want to see a variety of logo designs for their brand. The first thing you need to do is learn a little bit more about the brand and their sector. Let's say, as an example, that the client is a park service. So the very first thing that you need to do is get online and look them up. Do they have an existing brand? Is it pretty developed, in which case you need to accommodate that when designing, or is it actually a bit sketchy? If the latter, you've got a bit more freedom to explore some new ideas. Take a look also at the brand sector and their competition. What sort of logo styles, colours and typography are used by the brand's competitors to appeal to their audiences? Make a note of a few common things that you can spot. Now that you know a bit more about your brand, you can start to match that up with a logo style. All logos need to be not only appropriate for the brand's industry, but also they need to look contemporary. Choosing a design style which is going to suit your brand is a sensible first step. Let's take a look at some of the dominant trends in logo design at the moment to give you some ideas. Vintage and hand-drawn styles are still going really strong. They've got a nostalgic, friendly appeal, which makes them a great fit for independent businesses like coffee shops and small retailers. Another style which is becoming increasingly popular is the low-poly geometric trend. These designs are youthful and ultra-modern, and they make a great fit for startup businesses or technology branding. We're also seeing more cartoon design styles emerging in logos at the moment, which add a bit of fun and personality. These would be a great fit for the right sort of brand. If the brand you're designing for has more of a formal, corporate feel, then a style which uses abstract shapes and colour gradients to give it that slightly 3D effect might work really well. The style that I'm going to work with in the lessons coming up is one of my favourite trends out there at the moment. Line art is a really simple, minimal style, but it looks really fresh and cutting edge, and it works for a wide range of brands and sectors. We're going to work towards creating these logo designs, and I'm going to show you a basic 3-step process which you can use after you finish the course to tackle just about any logo design project with confidence. So now that we've done a bit of research about our brand and chosen a design style which we think will suit it, we can make a start on the first building block of our logo kit, which is creating icons. For the lessons going forward, you'll need to have access to Adobe Illustrator, which if you don't have already, you can download a 30-day free trial of the software from adobe.com. Of course, if you prefer using other vector software like Inkscape or CorelDRAW, that's fine too. The interface will just be a little bit different, but you can still put the logo designs together without a problem. Okay, so in the next lesson, we're going to get started straight away, so I'll see you there. Hi there guys, welcome back. We're going to dive right into the first creative stage of designing our logo kit. We're going to start with creating a series of icons, which are the symbolic or image-based building block of a logo design. Running with our fictional brief of designing logo concepts for a park service, let's say that we're going to take nature as a broad theme for our logo kit. The first thing that I would like you to do is to pick up a large sketch pad. Anything around A3 or bigger is best, plus a pen or pencil. So what I want you to focus on is taking just 10 or 15 minutes to draw some very rough sketches of icons. So what I mean when I say icon, it's a very simple graphic which is made up of just a few lines or shapes. As we've decided to opt for our line art style and the nature theme, you can use these as starting points for drafting some of your own ideas. So try drawing simple, minimal icons to represent nature elements like trees, flowers, birds, animals, mountains. So get started on that now. You may want to find a quiet spot away from your computer to get really creative with your drawings. And given the theme, you might also find it useful to draw outside. So go ahead, pause the video, and we'll review our work in about 15 minutes' time. Okay, so how was that? Did you genuinely take only about 15 minutes to do your sketches? Or did it take a bit longer? If it did, no worries. Drawing minimal designs takes practice, and you really do have to get used to moving on from one idea to the next very quickly, which can be difficult at first. Let's take a look at your sketches. As an example, here's mine. So can you spot any designs in your own work which look stronger than others? You can see here that I've scribbled out a few of mine which didn't work so well, but there are a few others here that I think have some potential. Once you've got a few, maybe even just 5 or so sketches that have some potential, you can move over to Illustrator. So what I'm going to do is show you how I'm going to vectorize some of my own icons based on the sketches that I've got here. If you want to use your own sketches as a starting point instead, that's fine too. You can also find the final vectorized version of these icons in the resources accompanying this lesson, if you want to open those up and have a look at them. Okay, so for this stage, we're going to need Adobe Illustrator. So let's open it up. And once it's open, head up to File, New. Keep that all as it is, and then click OK. All right, so let's take a look at our sketches and choose one to vectorize first. Sometimes if the design style is a bit more complex, I like to scan in the design and trace it in Illustrator using the shape and line tools. But for these line art designs, which are very simple, it's quite good practice to create these by sight alone. I'm going to start with this little owl sketch. She's pretty cute. So I look first for the sorts of shapes and lines which make up the design and then match these to the right tool for the job. So I'm going to start with the ellipse tool, which is here on the Tools panel inside the Rectangle tool menu. Holding down Shift is going to keep that circle perfectly proportioned. Cool. To mark out the centre point of the circle, I'll need to bring in some guides. So to do that, go to View, Show Rulers, and then drag a guide down from the top to the centre point, and one from the left ruler too. Okay, great. Then for the curved lines of the beak, I can create this using the Arc tool, which you'll find here in the Line Segment Tools menu. I'm just going to draw that out roughly, and then I'm going to switch to the Direct Selection tool, which is A on your keyboard, to manipulate the anchor points directly. Then to create symmetry, I select the line, I edit, copy it, and edit paste. Then right click or control click if you're on a Mac and transform, reflect, and choose vertical. Okay, and then we can move that over into position. Then for those cute little button eyes, let's take the ellipse tool again and hold Shift. Get that about to the right size and then copy and paste that over to the other side. So as a quick exercise, I'd like you to either download the vectorized icons provided with this lesson and take a look at how those have been put together in Illustrator. Or if you have a bit more time on your hands, have a go at vectorizing a few of your own sketches. In the next lesson, we'll look at how you can refine your vector icons by adjusting details like stroke, caps, and colour. Okay, so you might have drawn up a few of your sketches on Illustrator and they're probably looking really nice, but there are a few things that you can do to make your vectors look particularly professional. The panel that's going to be super handy for this is the stroke panel, and this is docked over on the right side of your workspace over here, or you can find it up in the window menu. So the first thing you're going to want to play around with is the weight of the stroke. So for line art designs, this is particularly important, and often you'll need to apply a slightly heavier stroke weight to make sure that your icon is going to stand out and be visible at a small size. I'm going to increase the weight for the circle and arcs that make up my owl icon. So you can judge the sort of thickness that works for your own logo. You want the design to look nice and bold when viewed from afar, so a highish stroke weight usually looks a bit better. If you're creating a series of icons within the same style, you should note that you'll have to make the weight consistent across all the designs as well. The next thing to tweak is the cap of your lines. So the cap defines how the ends of your lines will appear. Switching to a round cap, I think, just has this really nice smoothing effect, which just helps the icon to look a bit more professional. This is the central option. By all means, stick with a straight-ended cap if it looks better for your style. Because I want to give my logos a more friendly, contemporary look, a round end is just going to edge it into that sort of territory. Okay, that's looking good. So just these little tweaks can make a really big difference to how professional your logos look. Right, now let's look at the colour of this owl. Now, one thing you have to allow for when you're designing logos is that in certain circumstances, you might find that your logo can only be rendered as a black and white silhouette or a grayscale image. And this can happen when people want to produce print items like letterheads very quickly in-house. So as long as your logo design can work in black and white as well as colour, then you've got a really versatile logo design on your hands. Having said that, most logos look a bit better with a little bit of colour. And even if you're wanting all or part of the design to stay quite neutral in colour, adjusting it from a harsh black is going to look a lot better. First thing to do is to expand the colour panel and click on the panels menu at the top right. And just check that you're working in CMYK mode. RGB is fine if you're just creating a logo design for online. Then expand the swatches panel, which you can also find docked over here to the right of the workspace. And head into the panels menu and choose New Swatch. I'm going to show you this really flattering grey swatch which just softens logos which you might otherwise set in black. So we want process colour for the type, CMYK for the colour mode, and let's adjust the levels to cyan 53.5%, magenta 44.5%, yellow 42%, and key, which is black, to 8.5%. We can name this Logo Grey. And click OK. And now you can see it's been added to the swatches panel. So let's apply it. Okay, nice. The last thing you need to do to make your icons ready to be used as part of a logo design is to make this image into a vector whole. To do this, drag your mouse across all the elements making up your icon and right-click and choose Group. Then head straight up to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. And finally, go to Window and Pathfinder. And in the window that opens, choose the first option on the left, which is called Unite. So now you'll be able to scale your design up and down without losing the proportions of the stroke. Okay, fantastic. For now, head up and File, save your work as an Illustrator file. Name it something like Icons. And we're going to come back to this in the next lesson, so keep it open if you're heading straight over to the next video. I'll see you in just a moment. Hi guys, welcome back. You'll find alongside this lesson the resource file called Icons, which has a trio of finalised icons, including the owl that we looked at in the last lesson, and also a deer head and a tree design as well. As before, for this section of the course, you can either work with these icons alongside me or use your own icons and apply the same sort of techniques that we're looking at here. Okay, so now we've got our icons ready, we've outlined them and united them to make a scalable design. And now we want to move on to the next building block of our logo kit, which is to create framing elements. Now, frames aren't essential for creating logos. You can easily use an icon on its own, or you can pair that icon with just a simple piece of typography. But in many cases, particularly with these minimal sorts of logos, a frame is just a really nice way of pulling the design together and making it look really polished. Okay, so let's have a look at where to start with your frames. To make our logo kit really flexible, you can create a set of standard frame shapes that are going to be interchangeable and work with a number of different icons and type arrangements. Let's make a really simple example to start with. Okay, so a frame doesn't have to be a rectangle or a square. It's really anything that's going to frame the focal points of your design, which are the icon and the text. So I'm going to head on to a fresh page and use the line segment tool to create a nice straight horizontal line across the page, holding shift down while I do that. And then copy and paste that below, give it a bit of space. You might want to bring out guides from the rulers to make sure you've got the two lines perfectly lined up with each other. And then you can format these to match the style of your icons. So let's set the stroke weight from the stroke panel to something quite similar to, but a bit less than your icon's stroke weight. I'm going to go for 13 points. And adjust the cap to a round cap to match it as well if you've done that. An easy way to bring over the matching colour is to head over to your icon's canvas, select one of the designs and copy. And then head back over and paste that in. Go to the Swatches panel's menu, choose New Swatch and OK. And then apply that to the stroke colour of the lines. To make this frame work really well for a logo, we can allow for the main brand name between the lines and a little gap below for a subheading, like an establishment year or a motto. So to do that, take the scissors tool, which is C on your keyboard, and snip once here to the left of the lower line, and then select and delete the right-hand section of the line. And let's copy and paste that short line over to the right side to mirror it. And just as we did with the icons, to make this whole thing scalable, select everything and right-click and select Group. Then head up to Objects, Path, and Outline Stroke. Okay, so that's a very, very simple example of a framing element. And I'll give you a little sneak preview of the final product. So this can give you an idea of the kind of layout that you could put together using this sort of frame. Okay, so ready to try putting together another frame? Awesome. So another framing style is to take a shape and then make this into a usable frame. In Illustrator, you've already got a few ready-to-use options by using the Shape tools, which you can find over here in the Tools panel under the Rectangle Tools menu. So circles using the Ellipse tool. Polygons too can look really good, and you've even got a star shape here too, which is pretty fun. But you can also make custom shapes using the drawing tools yourself. So let's say we want to create a triangle shaped frame. The easiest way to create custom shapes is to use the pen tool and get very familiar with using guides. So take the pen tool or hit P and click once, again, and 3 times to bring that shape together. Now you want your triangle to be completely even, so bring out a guide from the left-hand ruler to the centre point of the triangle, and then select the triangle and bring down a guide from above to the horizontal centre point. Now you want to use the direct selection tool, which is A, to select the left and right-hand anchor points and shift those about until it's looking symmetrical. Okay, cool. Let's format the stroke weight, make it a bit chunkier. And let's add a dash of colour as well. So go to the Swatches panel, choose New Swatch, and make a gold tone by setting the percentage levels to 9, 23, 84, and 24. Let's name it Gold, and click OK. Then when you're happy with the frame, head up to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke, as we did before. Okay, super simple. And as an example, here's how that shape might integrate into a whole logo design. So here I've used the scissors tool to snip away around the edges of the type and the antlers to give the effect that the frame is being pushed behind the deer and the type. So I hope it's given you a little taster of how framing elements can add that little extra touch to your logos and how easy they are to make. It can be as simple as a couple of lines, or be a shape or a badge or a border. It can have strong angles like this triangle, or have a more fluid, curvy design. And each of these frames are going to bring a different quality to your design. In the next video, we're going to move on to the final and a really important building block of your logo kit, and this is typography. So make sure you save your frames document in Illustrator, and I'll see you over in the next section in just a moment. Hey there, our logo kit is really starting to shape up now. We've got some icons ready and some frames to help pull the design together, but there's something that's still missing and is going to be key to giving your logo personality, clarity, and a distinct voice. And that thing is typography. When it comes to typography for your logos, you've got two choices. You can either create custom type, which is going to be completely unique to your logo. And in very particular cases, such as if you're designing for quite a high profile business with a big branding budget, this might be the best choice. But in general, it's absolutely fine to use an existing typeface. It's just dependent on a few conditions. First of all, the font has to be licensed for commercial work. So this means that the typeface designer has agreed that you can use that font for designs that are going to be distributed or sold. So sometimes on font sites, you'll see that you can use a font for personal use or commercial use. If you're going to create a logo for someone else, you need to have a commercial license. The good news is that you don't always have to pay for commercially licensed fonts. There are some great free resources out there, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. The other thing that you need to be aware of is that most fonts are only licensed for you to use it commercially. So if you're designing a logo for a client and you're using a font in the design, it's not legal for you to send them the font file. They will need to pay for the license before using the logo. One way of getting around this is to either customize an existing font to make it more unique. So for example, you might tweak the shape of some of the letters to give it a different design. Another option is to simply outline the text once you formatted it and send this as a vector design to the client. By outlining the font, you're avoiding sharing the licensed font file itself. So with this in mind, the font world is actually your oyster. As long as you're aware of the licensing requirements and how to share your final design legally with your client, then you're able to select a typeface that's going to make a great team with your icons and your frames. We're going to have a little break from Illustrator and have a browse online in this lesson. I'm going to show you some of my favourite sites for finding commercially licensed fonts, so you might be able to find something great for your own designs in the future. There are tons of sites out there that sell fonts or offer them for free, but I have a few fail-safe sites that I find I always come back to for a combination of quality, variety, and value as well. One of my go-tos is myfonts.com, which is a great site for finding really cutting-edge stuff. If you go to the Hot New Fonts page, you get a real sense of the sort of type styles that are new and exciting and starting to trend with other designers. You can also find some fantastic fonts on Envato Elements, and again, this has a very current feel to it. As we mentioned earlier, it's really important for your logo designs to feel contemporary and relevant, and a typeface that just feels really right for now is going to give you that straight away. As you're browsing these font selections online, you've got to start thinking about how a typeface is going to relate to the designs that you've already created. It's got to match the style and the personality of the icons and feel like it's just a very natural part of the logo. So I'm browsing on here and I'm just constantly analysing the design and the mood of the fonts that I'm seeing and looking for commonalities with the logo elements that I've already built. So even though something like Addington is a really elegant serif, it's not quite feeling right for my line art style. And actually something like Bergen Sands feels a bit more in tune with the minimal but curvy style of my icons. So that would be an option to consider. I want to take you over to one of my favourite font sites, which every designer on a budget comes back to a lot, and that is fontsquirrel.com. So what's great for us here is that all the fonts are not only free, but they're licensed for commercial use too, which is great. So have a browse through what's hot, what's recent, and get a sense of the sort of type style that you're looking for. When you can narrow down a bit more, head over to the classification panel and choose categories that make a good fit. So I'm going to choose sans, geometric, which I think is going to find fonts that will match up well with my existing style. Okay, so instantly I love the look of this font, which is called Acre. It's geometric and contemporary, but it's also got something about it. It's a nice, rounded, friendly font. So we can get Acre Medium from FontSpring, which is another really nice site. And you've also got the option of testing your own logo text from here and purchasing other weights as well. Okay, awesome. So once you've found the font that you think is the one, then you can download it, install it onto your computer, and you're ready to start playing around with formatting. And we'll look at that in the next lesson. Hey guys, so I showed you in the last video where you can source some fantastic fonts to use on your logo designs. And once you've found a font that just has the right style that complements your icons, it really does have the potential to transform your designs and make them look really professional. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of formatting typography in Illustrator and take a look at a few handy techniques for getting the most out of your type. The first example I'm going to look at is using the owl icon that I created earlier to make a whole logo design for a cafe business. Conveniently for me, it's called the Owl Cafe. So here I am with my owl icon. Again, you can use similar techniques with your own icon designs if you prefer. For this logo, I'm actually going to use the text as a sort of frame instead of using a shape or lines. And this is a nice way of designing a logo if you have to drop in quite a bit of text. Let's start with the main brand name. I'm going to position this either side of the icon and keep it nice and simple. So take the type tool or hit T, drag to create a text frame, and type in the first half of the brand name, in this case owl. To format this, you're going to want to head up to Window, Type, and Character. Okay, so let's increase the font size to get it proportional. And then select your chosen font from the drop-down menu at the top of the window. So I'm going for Acre and a medium weight. Okay, cool. Now, one thing that makes type always look better on logos is a bit of tracking, which is the space between all the characters. You can find this here, and I'm going to make it really generous at 327. Let's get that positioned centrally next to the icon and pull down a guide to identify the baseline of the text. And then you want to copy and paste the text frame, move that over to the right side, and edit the text to read the remainder of the brand name. Let's head over to the swatches panel and give this text a bit of colour. Choose New Swatch and create a green swatch with levels 81, 29, 49, 24, and click OK. And then apply this to both text frames. Awesome. So say the client wants to add a bit more text than the standard name alone. For example, they want to put the famous before the brand name and add an establishment date too. Let's do the date first. So select one of the existing text frames, copy and paste it, and position below the owl icon. You might want to pull out a guide to check that's definitely central. From the controls panel at the top of the workspace, choose Align Center for the text. Let's also reduce the font size a bit and pull the tracking down here to about 250. Then highlight the text and edit copy it, but don't paste it quite yet. Everything in our design is looking okay, but it's also looking a bit straight. And bringing in a curve in some of the text is going to really frame that design. So to do that, select the ellipse tool, which is L on the keyboard, and drag to create a rough circle over the center of the design. We want the text to curve above the top of the head of the owl icon. Now go to the Type tool menu and choose the Type on a Path tool. Click once on the top left corner of the circle and you've transformed it into a path. So now you can edit, paste to drop in your text, and we only need a couple of tweaks. Adjust the text content, Adjust the font size and the tracking a little bit too, to about 200. And awesome, we've made a complete logo. Formatting your text, like in the way we've just done, is actually only one part of creating a strong typographic look for your logo designs. You also need to consider the layout of the type and how the text is effectively going to be mapped onto your design. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a quick look at a couple of examples. In this Owl Cafe logo example, the text is mapped around a central icon and uses a mix of straight baselines and curved baselines to frame the icon in the middle. You can see this as a sort of solar system style layout with the icon being circled by type. This example, which uses two lines as a frame, is a little bit different. This encourages you to map the text inside of the lines, making it the central focus of the logo. The tree icons are placed above this, creating a top-heavy layout. This sort of type layout is perfect for when you want the focus to be more on the brand name than on the icon. This example is a little bit different again in the way that the text is mapped out. As with the Owl Cafe logo, the icon is the central focus, but the type has equal weighting to the icon, with it being placed both above and below the deer head. The triangle frame is strong, but with it being set in a different colour, it feels more like a backdrop to the icon and text, which is still centre stage. Now that you have your logo kit building blocks in place, you can play around with the arrangement of elements and experiment with different ways of mapping typography onto your logos. The way that you choose to map the text out will depend on how much prominence you want to give the brand name, as well as how it fits with the icon and frame that you choose. In the next and final video, we'll review the skills that we've covered in this course and also take a look at some tips for going forward with your logo designs. Hi guys, welcome back, and congratulations is in order. You've completed the Envato Tuts Plus course, Creating Professional Logos in an Instant. I've shown you how you can design awesome logos when time is really short by creating a set of building blocks including icons, frames and typography. This is a great way of showing a client lots of concepts with much less time and effort than having to reinvent the wheel for each new logo design. So let's take a quick recap of the process for designing logos when you're in one of those time-pressured situations. First up, so you get the client brief and then you need to get online and do some research about their brand and also about the sort of branding adopted by other companies in their sector. This is going to give you a pretty good idea of what sort of logo designs might be appropriate for the client. Then it's time to pick a design style for your logo kit. It saves a lot of time by focusing your energies on one strong style, which you think will be a good fit for the client. Whether you opt for vintage, geometric, line art, or something else, this is going to give you some direction for drafting your designs. Next up, it's time to get sketching some ideas for icons, which are the image-based or symbolic part of your logo design. When you've got some ideas, you can translate these into digital drawings using a vector program like Illustrator. You'll also need a nice selection of framing elements to use in your designs, such as lines, shapes, and badges. These don't need to take up a lot of your time, but these simple elements can really help to pull your logos together. Finally, you can add a finishing touch to your designs in the form of typography. You can combine text with your icons and frames to create a whole design, and taking a little bit of time to map out the typography well and format the text to a really high standard is going to elevate your logos to a really professional level. And there we have it. That's your step-by-step process for tackling any time-pressured logo design project. And to be honest, even if you've got a bit more time on your hands, following a work process that has distinct steps is always really helpful and will mean you don't spend more time than you need on certain stages of the project. So where can you go from here? Well, the logo design world is completely open to you, and I hope this short course has given you some confidence to have a go at tackling professional logo design projects. If you're still not ready to dive into some client work, you can have a go at setting yourself a fictional brief, or try using the process we've looked at to design logo concepts for your own freelance or small business brand. Try experimenting with different logo styles, different time frames for completing the process, until you really feel like you're getting into the swing of it. And above all, remember to have fun with designing logos. It's definitely one of the most enjoyable and creative aspects of graphic design, which admittedly can be difficult to remember when you're under a lot of time pressure, but I hope you get a lot of enjoyment out of it and now have the confidence that you can create amazing logo designs whatever time you have to spare. So a big thank you for watching, and make sure to check out the other great courses and tutorials available on Tuts Plus.